Hi, good morning all.
Good morning, team. Anyone new please joined today? Team, anyone joined newly?
Yeah, newly I joined.
Yes, when you joined.
Hi, Sachin. Anyone new please joined today?
Hi, I have joined. This is
Yes.
Kirtana.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Vidya. Hi,
Are
Kirtana.
you ready?
Yeah. Is it first time
Yeah,
joining?
I have joined newly. I
Anyone
have
any
joined
have
newly. Sri.
questions, doubts
Yeah.
about data analytics, Power BI, Power Fabric, or Azure? Anyone have doubt why we need to learn all these topics? Too much heavy? So these kind of questions anyone have?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going through that
Hmm.
course content.
Yes.
Does SQL also we cover, sir, in this?
Without SQL, there is no data course.
Okay, okay.
If anyone said like only with the Power BI will get a job, it's a 99% false news.
Okay, okay.
Power BI
Okay.
maybe can use as a internal preparation purpose, like internal small dashboard purpose, but to become a perfect data analyst without SQL, without Azure, you can become a data analyst. Without even Power BI, you can become a data analyst by learning
Okay.
Tableau, by learning Looker, by learning only Excel also. But to become a data analyst, SQL is mandatory.
Okay. Okay. In this part of curriculum, we get that also.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Data
okay,
analyst,
okay.
data science, data engineer. All these three,
Okay.
SQL is the must. It's a common
Must.
subject.
Okay. Common subject. Okay.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. So thing is, but we are starting Power BI onwards now for you guys, and SQL we will
Okay, okay.
teach you separately. And SQL
Okay.
is a very common subject in KSR. Almost every data related courses we have SQL. If you have a time, like example, there is one more batch, maybe we'll start in after 2 months, something in the evening time. You can join SQL at that time parallelly, or else once Power BI is done, you can join SQL as per your comfort.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Once Power BI is done, I'll join.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
prefer these timings. And yeah. Okay.
So SQL is a mandatory subject and depends on the time availability. Maybe you can learn parallelly or else in the same time continuously. You can. Okay.
Yeah, parallelly, maybe if we get that recordings, we'll
Yes.
watch. Yeah, we'll learn
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Records you will get
Okay.
also.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more
Apart
question
from
on
these, like any more question? Yeah. You can
uh,
ask me, Sachin.
yeah, since we are trying to become a data analyst here while learning all these tools, and let's suppose after three,
Hmm.
4 months of time, we get a Power BI developer opportunity. Exactly. So we can go for
Hmm.
that also.
Yes, yes.
Why
This
this?
is a more than a Power BI developer.
Why this content
More
which we
than a
are
Power BI
which we are going
developer,
to
this is.
learn here in this time frame?
Yeah. So after 2 months, mostly Power BI will take at least 2 months only for Power BI. Around 45 lectures, it will take only Power BI apart from SQL Azure. So
Mhm.
after Power BI, if any opportunity only for Power BI, even they will say as a Power BI developer, for sure JD will be with the SQL or Azure or Fabric. Some cases even basics of Power Apps also they're expecting. But any opportunity only for Power BI, even you know only Power BI that's sufficient. Yes, we can try.
Okay, morning everyone. Ritesh here. So
Got it right, Sachin? Have any
I-
question here?
I'll clarify it
Yes,
more.
yes, yes.
I have one question.
Uh, Sachin, I'll clarify it more.
Sure,
Probably then
sure,
we can go with the next
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
sure.
Any other
See,
questions?
if you're considering Power BI, if you're considering any data analyst, see, Power BI is one single reporting tool. So if it's a data analyst means a data analyst can use many tools. Now, in that many tools, we are just considering Power BI as the primary tool for reporting or for kind of data analysis. So it might be Click, it might be Tableau, it might be MicroStrategy. There are many tools which are available in the market. So why Power BI? Why not any other tool? That is what we will be discussing today. And you will slowly get an idea about people are moving from different tools to Power BI. There is a certain reason to it. Now, what reasons are? That's what we will discuss in detail in today's session. Um, so, if you are looking for a data analyst course nowadays specifically, it is clearly mentioned that we are looking for a person who is good in Power BI. If it's Power BI developer, that means it's default Power BI, right? So if it's BI developer, and in BI also there is specifically mentioned as Power BI. So all these open positions are somewhere related to the Power BI. The names are different because that are coming from different companies, right? Some might be, kind of product-based companies. Some might be more a kind of service-based company. Some might be more a kind of what you call, we have some medicinal companies also there. Every company has this data analysis present in it. So whether they are looking for Power BI, whether they are looking for data analyst and they specifically mention Power BI, whether they are looking for BI, all these roles are interconnected to one single tool or one single stack which we will be learning. End of the day, it is one and the same.
Understood.
I guess there were some other questions.
Yes, I have one question that has a, in a course curriculum, it shows that in here we are going to cover Azure Blob Storage, Azure Data Lake. So that
Yeah.
module is covered or it yet to be covered?
No, we have just started with Power BI, so that would be after Power BI, right? Whatever we are learning, these are all cloud services, which you clearly mentioned, right? So these
Hmm.
cloud services can only be learned once you have a good exposure in reporting or understanding of data analysis. Then we can cover these two. So this is after Power BI.
Okay, and when this model will going to be starting? Any idea after Power BI?
Power BI would somewhere around take 2 months. I mean, 2 months in the sense we don't have sessions on Saturday, Sundays. Monday to Fridays only we have sessions. So per month, somewhere around 21, 22. So 35 to 40 sessions of Power BI. Post that, we will be starting with this Azure and cloud.
Okay, got it.
So
Thank you.
I'll anyways cover this, that when, at what time we would be starting. But uh, just to highlight your questions answer, it would be somewhere after around what you call 45 to 50 days, the Azure would come up. We can start
Okay.
with Azure.
Right.
Hi,
Okay.
sir.
Hey, Shriyari. Yeah, hi. Morning.
Yes, sir. Sir, like exactly what this course is about? Is it completely related to Power BI developer or like data analyst? Like
It is more a kind of data analysis.
data.
Because see, you have many questions, that's fine. Maybe once I cover what we are going to learn by Power BI, you may have your questions answered mostly. If not, at the end of the session, anyways, I'm still available. You can go ahead and ask the questions.
Maybe Srihari, let me answer for an just a humorous way. It's an Power BI Ultra Pro Max.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So under data analyst, Power BI may come, but Power BI developer can't become a data analyst. Okay.
Okay.
Small difference. Data analyst can be Power BI developer, we can say, because we are using Power BI as a main tool here. Data analyst can use the Tableau, can use a Looker, can use a ClickView, like Ritesh told. But here we are using Power BI as a main tool for a data
Okay.
analysis. So completely, there is no single topic going to be missed in Power BI. So very rare topics like some organization, they won't teach like a page related reports, those kind of all access maybe around we are. I can say simply who are working in Power BI from last 3 to 4 years, you can share this curriculum. I'm sure they are not aware all these subjects, or else at least they are not at all using in their company all these subjects.
Okay, okay.
Even after you got placed also, you are not going to use all these subjects for sure. But while learning, we are not sure what kind of project we may get, what kind of client we may get, right? So that we have to be prepared for all these things. After getting placed, maybe depends on your project requirement, only 60 to 70% topics only we are going to be using in real time.
Okay, okay. Like after completing the course, like how many like experience can we expect? I
Right, got
mean,
it right?
yeah, I got it.
Minimum, see, it depends on your prior experience also. For us, what we say is minimum you can show 3 to 4 years of experience.
Okay, okay. Right now, I'm working as a Power Platform, like just going.
Okay.
So I
Hmm.
just want to like I cleared PL 300 also. I know
Cool.
the theory
Okay.
parts. So I'm thinking like to switch as a Power BI developer or data analyst. So that's why I'm asking.
Okay. Okay. Cool. See, anyways, for you, it would be more a kind of um, easy to understand. But yeah, as I've said, you are from Power Platform. Power Platform may not have that much analysis in it. It's more a kind of creating apps, automate flows. We also have a section called as Logic Apps, which is almost similar like Power Automate in the Azure. So there are here and there some touch bases we will also have in the Power Platform, but it's not Power Platform. Moreover, data analysis with specialization in Power BI. I mean, Mahesh might have said, right, Power BI Ultra Pro Max. I'm not sure if anyone got this. If you are
Yeah.
trying to compare any iPhone models, right, basic model iPhone 17, then iPhone 17 Pro, then iPhone 17 Pro Max, then iPhone 7. I mean, we have iPhone 17 Plus also in between. So if you're considering this course, it's not only Power BI, it's a more a kind of Pro Max. Right. So along with Power BI, what all additional technical stack is required, all that technical stack would be covered in this.
Okay.
Uh, just sorry, just one last question.
Mhm.
Suppose if I want to learn rest of the models, Azure models, so I can join that session instead of on the Power BI and SQL because I'm currently aware about SQL and Power BI and working on that for the last 5 to 6 years.
Okay. So if you want to learn, see, it's not about models, it's more about Azure cloud services.
Yeah,
This is not data science that we will be learning models, but yeah, somewhere it is related to additional cloud stack exposure which a Power BI developer needs for data cleaning, for data transformations. So for that purpose, we have that separate course. Separate course in the sense we would be starting after Power BI. Even that
okay,
option is available. Once that Power BI is done, you have that option to join with the Azure as well.
okay, fine. So I can join that on that day also if
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have.
It would
Okay,
still take 2 months for your understanding, for your information. But anyways, that
okay,
is still there.
okay, fine.
Okay. I mean, Few other also have many questions, but anyways, if you have your questions, in that questions, maybe by end of the session, most of the questions would be answered. If not, maybe you still have time, right? Anyways, you can come down and ask the questions at the end of the session also. But just to get started with, very good morning, everyone. Now, I'll not see, we'll not directly jump into a particular session, or we'll not directly jump into, I mean, what we are going to discuss. So I'll not directly present something. So what we will do is we'll try to start with some interaction. We'll try to have some interaction, direct interaction, and then we'll try to understand what every person's requirement is. Depending on that, why we need data analysis. That is more, I mean, easy to understand rather. Right. So I'll be posting a question in the chat itself. It's not a question, it's more a kind of what you call a poll. Right. We have a poll. Right, so I've just posted a poll. I'm not sure if that poll is visible to you. If you go to these questions, it should be visible. In the chat itself, that poll is visible or not. Can anyone help me whether that chat or poll is visible to you?
No.
No? Just a moment.
No, in chat I cannot see.
Probably it hasn't been shared. Just give me a moment. Anyways, I guess it is blocking that. So let me ask that question verbally. I mean, how many of you are fond of movies here? It might be, see, I'm not considering it should be watched in a movie theater only. It might be on OTT platform. It might be on your small devices also. Once that movie is released, after 2 or 3 months, you're viewing that movie. But how many of you are fond of movies? Maybe you can raise your hand or you can say yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. See, in the chat, I've got few responses. Fond of movies in the sense, see, it's not that you should be viewing that movie on the day one or day two, or maybe within a week. But usually at some point of time, some or other way, we are fond of, or maybe if some new movie is coming, something which is very different, right? You might be viewing that movie, or you might be very eager to watch that movie. I'm not sure how many of you watched this movie called as Mirai recently. It's a latest movie, right? 2 days or 3 days back it was released. How many of you watched that movie? Mirai. I'm not sure. It is more a kind of a Telugu movie, but it is multilingual. It is released in multiple languages in India, including Hindi, the other 4 South languages, and even in Marathi. How many of you watched this movie called as Mirai? In 2 days, 3 days, in this weekend?
Yeah, I watched.
Okay. Okay. See, if you're considering watching movies, for a movies also, how they judge their analysis, right? Whether our movie is correctly working in a particular area, right? Everyone is fond of movies, but how that movie is performing, whether a distributor, that there are many people involved in that movie. Post movie is also completed. In order to distribute that movie also, there is a distributor required. Distributor in the sense, a person who distributes movie in different geographical areas, right? I mean, single person cannot distribute movie throughout all the country, right? Every region has multiple distributors, right? For Hindi belt, we have a different distributor. For South India also, we have 4 different states, or rather 5 different states. So for every state, there is a different distributor, a person who distributes that movie, right? So there are many movies which are currently, I mean, for Telugu people, there are 2 or 3 movies which are, I mean, very good recently. For folks from Marathi also, Maharashtra, there is a new movie called as Dasavatar, right? Even that movie is doing good. And there are some other movies also parallelly released in Hindi as well, right? Hindi or English. We have Conjuring in English, right? I'm not sure how many like that Conjuring. I guess it's not that very cool, which we have compared if you have compared to the Azure Conjuring parts. But still, we have many movies released in multi languages in India. So movie business is a very good business, but how that business is working, how that particular industry is working, how do you analyze that? There are many ways to analyze, right? So we'll try to understand, right? We try to understand how that. And if I show a small example of it, if I show a very small example of it, see, this is just a reporting representation of that movies. Now, it might have only data from 2005 to 2017, but if you want to understand how any movie is particularly working in which region, what is the amount or what was the budget uh, allocated or what was the budget, what was that particular movie charged, right? A complete movie it took to complete that, the amount of budget it took, or what was the revenue it generated. More a kind of people are more focused on revenue, right? How many collections are there for that particular movie? It also decides whether that movie is a good movie, hit, a blockbuster movie or all-time blockbuster movie, or an average movie, right? So there are multiple factors which are considered for any particular business. Now, movie is also business nowadays in India, right? Not nowadays, it's been a business for long years, but how do we analyze that movies, right? How do we analyze that business? With the help of some data. Now, if there is a data, you need to analyze that data, right? So analysis of data is most important. So what a person with data has to do, what that person with the analyst exposure has to do, that is what we are going to discuss in today's session. Okay, so anyways, we have just started with a very small example that how many of you watched movies, but there are many other factors where data analysis is required. We have just taken a very small example and a lively example which I've taken, right? Because movies have been releasing in India. I mean, latest movies which have been releasing in India have a very good trend. And if you are not sure, if anyone has watched a movie called Mirai, right? The word used inside that Mirai, M-I-R, you can write M in capital, I-R in small, but that last two words, it's A-I. I mean, there is a meaning to that name also. AI, right? It's more about, that movie is more about graphics, that movie is more about artificial intelligence, right? So for every course, we have artificial intelligence nowadays, right? So how that artificial intelligence will help us to solve our problems, even that we are going to discuss in this session, right? Now, again, one more question shooting to you, that how many of you are working professionals? Some might be freshers, but exception, how many of you are working professionals or you were working previously? Now, if you are a working professional, for sure, there is one thing which we have to, I'm not sure how many of you have a note of. Can anyone remember, is there something on 15th of September? This date is very important. Can anyone recall? For working professionals, I'm asking this question for a working professional. Maybe if some other also can answer, that would be very well. But is there anything special today, 15th September?
Income tax returns last date.
Very good. Today is the last date to file your ITR. Today is the last date to file your ITR. Now, what is ITR? Income tax, right? It's more a kind of income tax return. Whatever income you are getting, you have to pay certain tax to the government, right? Depending on your income, you have different slabs. I mean, recently government has introduced a new ITR law that person who can earn up to 12 lakhs need not pay any tax. Now, this is for this financial year, starting from April till next March, that is until 12 lakhs, you may need not pay any amount until 12 lakhs or even more than 12 lakhs, something around 12.5 or 12.75 lakhs, you need not pay any amount, any tax. Post that, the tax slabs will be started, right? So we have different tax slabs. So if you're considering ITR also, how ITR will check how many people have, completed filing their ITR. Even if your tax is zero, it is recommended to file your ITR. That means it is zero. I have verified my tax is zero and I'm filing this ITR. That is must. Because if you want to take any future loans, if you want to take any further credit cards, or if you want to take any kind of business, you want to maintain any kind of business with the bank, ITR matters a lot, right? Even if it is zero, but if you are completely submitting your ITR since last few years or maybe last 3 or 4 years, if you want to take any specific additional loan or some business with the bank, they will always go back and check your your ITR, whether you have filed your ITR, whether you are capable to take that loan and repay it. So how this the income tax department also analyzes their information. They'll try to analyze their information in terms of report. They'll try to analyze their information in terms of report. Now, even this is income tax analysis, right? Even this is a report. Every department which you consider nowadays is looking for analytics person, a person who can analyze their data, a person who can represent that data which they are analyzing and show to the business that this is how the business is working, so that business can take their decisions, right? So the importance of data analyst is in every corner. You consider every corner. For every corner, there is a requirement of a data analyst. You touch any business, right? You now, many people might be visiting the, if you have some health issue or if you're not feeling good, right? You try to visit a medicinal store, a medical. You try to purchase medicines, right? So how that medicine is working. For a medicinal business, there are many sub businesses. One is the manufacturing business, whether that how the medicine is manufactured. One is their supply business, how the medicines are supplied, right? You cannot directly supply medicine in a normal courier, right? Some medicines require cooling, some medicines require normal temperature, some medicines require additional packing, some are in liquid form, some are in solid form, some are in powder form. So there are many types which that medicine is present in. Once that medicine is sold, whether how that medicine is performing. So if you are considering any specific business, rather any specific domain, every domain has a requirement of data analysis, right? So if every domain has a requirement of a data analyst, that means the number of open opportunities for this data analyst would be more, right? Now the question is how you should be a very good data analyst. That is what we would be discussing, right? And for a data analyst, why we need different tools. There are different tools. Why we need Power BI? Why only Power BI? Why not any specific tool? That is our primary aim for this session. Okay, so let's continue what we are discussing. So if you want to be a very good data analytics specialist or a reporting specialist, you are at the right place, right? Now, we might have started it, but where everyone has a certain question. So please try to park your questions aside. Most of your questions would be answered by end of the session. If not, anyways, you have still time at the end of the session. Feel free to ask the questions at the last. Okay, so now I'll take a very small example, or I'll take a very small what you call an image to depict what is the importance of a data analyst or what the data analyst will do. Now, if you're considering these two images, how many of you feel this image looks good? How many of you feel this image looks good? Right? It's all messy. Now, I'm not sure how many of you are fond of cooking. Now, if you visit any bachelor's room, especially boys, gender male, you will definitely find a kitchen like this. because they are not fond of or they are not used to of that cleanliness. Even I've gone through the same phase, right? Now, I'm very fond of cooking. I may not be able to cook many things, but I am very fond of cooking. I'm not sure how many of you are fond of cooking. But if I visit my kitchen and if I'm trying to search some maybe a kitchen equipment, which I'm looking for that particular dish to cook, if I'm not able to find that specific equipment, I have to halt my process, right? So the more the data is in a cleaned manner, it is very easy to understand, right? Same happens in your day-to-day life. If you're looking out for a particular book which you want to read, and if you open your bookshelf, all your books are correctly arranged, you can easily get that book. But if your bookshelf is not correctly arranged, right, you have to check every side of that bookshelf, every corner of that bookshelf. So anything which you are, I mean, what you see on day-to-day life also is all about data. Wherever, whichever component you're touching, it is all about data. Now, let's consider the example of Zoom itself, right? You people are trying to understand what I'm trying to explain via Zoom. Zoom is what? It's more a kind of communication channel, right? It is acting like a communication channel that I'm trying to explain something, and your people, I mean, you're based out of different locations in India, or maybe some people might be outside of India. So how that communication is happening, that if Zoom is correctly able to get the information, extract that information from a particular source, and it is parallelly processing it at multiple locations. So a data analyst has to understand the importance of data. And if he understands that importance of data, how clean that data is also that matters a lot. Right? So if you're considering this example, and if I consider this example, now if you are trying to fetch or if you're trying to search some component, it is very easy, right? You can stand some steps aside and you can easily check that I was looking for a certain product which is easily available here, right? So if you consider these two examples also, if you want to search any equipment or if you want to search any equipment here, it is very easy to search because everything is cleanly arranged and every component of a kitchen is kept at a certain place. Now, if you're used to that cleaned environment, it is very easy to get any information. So same happens with a data analyst. Data analyst will never get the cleaned data. He always gets that messy data. Now, it is the role of a data analyst to clean that messy information to a very cleaned information so that it is used by further business for understanding their current trend, right? Businesses are what they're looking out, whether my business is working or not. If it is working, where is it working good? Where is it working bad? How can I focus on the bad locations? How can I focus on the bad places where the business is not up to the mark? So same happens in your day-to-day life, right? If you're trying to get any information, if that is correctly placed at a particular location, you can easily fetch. But if it is not available at that location, you have to search for it. So it would be time-consuming task. So the more the time-consuming task it is, you will feel the irritation. So same happens with a data analyst. Data analyst will always have an irritation for first few days, right? Because the data is messy. The most important part is how do you understand that data? That is most important part. Now, as we have seen that image of the data, I mean the movies, right? We have seen an image of that movies report. So if I show this information, see, this is an Excel sheet. And in this Excel sheet, this is the information related to a particular movies. The movies, the picture which I've shown, right? The same picture, if I show it in the table manner, 99% of the times people end up fetching. I mean, they'll not read this information. What is this? I'm not used to, right? It's very small. The information is very clubbed here. I'm not used to this information. But if I convert the same information to a visual representation, it is very easy to understand, right? Because information is all cleaned, information is all arranged in a cleaned manner or at a particular location where that information should be shown. So that is more a kind of reporting. What is reporting? Reporting is not only drag and drop. Yes, you have drag and drop, but understanding the data, what is the requirement of a business and how to clean that data. 99% of the time, the data is not cleaned, which is coming from the business. Because what business feels that whatever data I have, I'll throw that data towards a data analyst. He is the right person to understand it. They will throw some questions or they'll shoot some questions to us that this is what my requirement is. Try to create a cleaned data and try to give me a reporting representation, which will help me to understand how my business is working. So more a kind of understanding data, analyzing the data, and then interpreting the data in terms of visuals is the role of a data analyst. It is not only drag and drop, it is all about understanding, then transforming that data or more a kind of cleaning the data, and then interpretation of that cleaned data in terms of visuals is a role of a data analyst. Now, if I again go back to this image, this is an Excel sheet representation, right? It's more a kind of tabular representation, a table format. Now, how to check this table format information, even that you have to understand, right? Now, if it is coming from Excel, yes, Excel has many options, you can clean it. But if it is not coming from Excel, it might be coming from different data sources. Excel is not the only data source, right? There are many other data sources. There are cloud-based data sources. There are databases. There are some data lakes or data warehouses. So if the data is coming from different sources, how do you clean the data? Not every time you can load it to Excel, you clean it, and then you connect it to Power BI. That is not feasible, right? So if the data is coming from different data sources, how do you clean that? For cleaning that particular data, you need different tools. Power BI is just more a kind of end. If the data is more clean, then you can interpret in the terms of visuals. But to clean that data, there are different tools which are required that we would be covering in Azure. More a kind of ETL. Now, there is a word called as ETL. Now, what that word signifies, ETL is extraction, transformation, and loading. So there are different tools which are part and parcel of that ETL group. We would be discussing that more once we reach out to Azure. But why do we need ETL additionally? For a person who knows Power BI is, not every time the data is clean. So you has a responsibility, an additional responsibility, that to understand and clean the data, then interpret that data in terms of visuals. The visuals which we are discuss or which we will discuss in further sessions. This is a just pictorial representation that a report should look like this. It is a report prepared by one of our student only. It is publicly available also. One of our K-Star students only have prepared this report and it is publicly available as well. Right? So same happens with the information which we have seen, the income tax department. This is the income tax analysis. Right? So consider any business. Now, how income tax is bifurcated? There are 19 regions of the income tax department in India, 19 sub-regions. So for every region, what is their growth? What is their year-over-year collection? What is the complete country-wise analysis, right? Which people are filing the ITR? What's their total income? What tax slab they belong to? So there are many factors which income tax department is looking for. So how these questions would get answered with the help of analysis, with the help of reporting. So a data analyst or a Power BI analyst has to do all these processes. As a responsible data or a Power BI analyst, you have to do all these processes and then interpret the final report to the customer so that they can take the business-driven decisions. Right? So I'll again take few more examples. Right? I'll again take few more examples. Now, just give me a second. Okay. So, and this is all about income tax. But if I try to take the example of this, what a role of a data analyst or a BI expert is. See, it includes multiple steps. It includes multiple steps. Now, what that multiple steps are? See, let's bifurcate this. I mean, you might be seeing this example or this particular image for, I mean, you might have already seen it many times, but let's understand what is the difference between, right? So if you're looking, few people had a question that if I only want to learn Power BI, or if there is an opening for Power BI, will that be also part of data analyst? See, Power BI is only this part. The green part is your Power BI. This is only Power BI. Now, apart from this green part, there is something called as ETL here, extraction, transformation, and loading. So this is all done by data analyst. This is all done by data analyst. So if you are looking, if you're targeting for a specific role, why not target for a complete role, right? Why only target for Power BI, right? For only Power BI, if there are 5 positions for data analyst, there might be 15 positions. Right? So a person who only knows Power BI as a reporting, it is not sufficient to get into a good job in current world. You should additionally know some cloud services. You should additionally know how a data analyst will work, how analysis of data works. Right? So all this includes is your understanding of data first, right? There are different data sources. You may not get data from a particular data source. So there are different data sources. So how to understand the data, what is the end requirement of that particular client, and then how to extract that data. Not every time the data is clean, so you need to extract that data which is uncleaned or which is messy. How to transform is where your cleaning of data is done. Cleaning in the sense, what is required for the business, you can clean that data depending on the requirement, and then you load it to some particular storage, right? Whatever data you have cleaned, you load it to particular storage. From that storage, the role of Power BI starts. You connect that information which is stored in that storage to the Power BI for visualization. So visualization is only 40% part of a data analyst. Along with visualization, there is data understanding, there is data cleaning, there is this ETL processes. So all this accommodates another 60%. Yes, the weightage on Power BI is 40%, which is more as compared to ETL. But if the data itself is not cleaned, how do you analyze that data? How do you create the visuals out of it in Power BI? So as a data analyst, you have to do all these processes, right? So that's the reason Mahesh has called it some ultra pro max, right? So it's a combination of many sectors. It is a combination of many tools combined together. But our primary focus would be on Power BI from the reporting perspective. And moreover, we would be learning all the ETL services with respect to Azure, because Power BI is also a product of Microsoft and Azure is also a product of Microsoft. Both are product of Microsoft. Right? So it's very easy to connect same products, right? If you're using a Windows laptop. Now, if you're using a Windows laptop, your default browser would be Edge browser. Earlier, it was Internet Explorer. Now, if you're going with Mac, right? Apple laptops. For Mac, there is a different environment. So if Power BI is a product of Microsoft, you can easily connect with the Azure services, right? There are another cloud providers also which you can connect it to Power BI, but Azure is more compatible because both belong to the same parent company, Microsoft. So that's the reason we would be learning Azure. That's the reason we would be learning Power BI, because both are somewhere dependent on each other. Right? So complete role of a data analyst. This is the complete role of a data analyst. Okay, so just give me a second. Now, Let's take few more examples. Now, how, right, if I'm learning Power BI, what is the current market? Whether am I following the correct trend? Whether am I following the correct trend or not? Whether I'm in the market or not. Because if you're learning any tool, that tool should be very good in the current market, right? It has a very good presence in the current market. Is it right or wrong? So let's try to take some examples. This is one example which I'll be taking, but let's see how you'll be able to understand. So this example, say it's only until 22. That's still fine, right? We are in 2025. It might have increased. We may never see a dip. It would have really increased. And if you see, there is no 2020 here. I'm not sure how many of you observed this information, but if you observe this information, it starts from 2015 and the latest year which is available is 2022. Now, what is this information? This information is about revenue generated by data and how much amount is spent on the analytics. How much amount is spent on the analytics, and this is in US dollars, billion US dollars. If you clearly observe this, how many of you can, think on this data. There is no 2020. Why there is no 2020? If you compare 2019 and 2020, there would definitely have been a very big drop. Because in 2020, we had a pandemic. But how to neglect that 2020 and how to show whether the information is really that amount, right? The revenue which is being generated by the data, how that revenue is increasing, how to show that information, that also matters. A data analyst, it doesn't mean that if there is a dip of information, why there is a dip, you need to give that information. You need to understand if, okay, if there is a dip here, you need to explain that dip to the customer. That because of so and so reason that dip is there. If you don't want that dip to be shown to the end user, we can skip that information. So you should be smart enough to understand the business also. And there is no 2020 here, right? It might be somewhere around 100 billion or somewhere around 120 or 130 billion because there was a drop, right? Because of a pandemic, businesses were not doing good. Everything was shut down. All your whatever world, if you're considering at worldwide level, most of the countries were shut down, right? So there would definitely have been a dip in the revenue being generated. How to neglect that dip, how to skip that dip, and how to show whether the revenue is increasing, that is also a very smart move. And you need to understand as a data analyst, you should be smart enough to show that dip also. If you want to show it, you can show it. If that dip is not required, you can skip that dip and you can directly show that information. Now, this is a table representation, right? If I consider the same table representation like this, see, if you're comparing this and this, again, 99% of the time people will compare a graph because they can easily check, right? From 2015, the information is increasing. Even though there is no 20, but the information is increasing. But if I try to check this in the table manner, you might understand this data, but this is more interesting. This will give you a better picture. So business can think about this picture. Okay, it is gradually increasing. From 122 to 130, from 130 to 149, there is an increase. From 149 to 168, there is a very good increase. From 168 to 189, there is a very good increase. So if you compare this 215 to 274, this is the biggest rise. So this biggest difference can be easily analyzed with the help of some chart or a visual. That is the importance of a visual in current world. One more example. Whatever you are generating, whatever, right? So that amount of information which is generated for that particular year, this is the, right? I am not sure if anyone has an idea about what is byte, what is kilobytes, what is megabytes, MB, KB, MB, GB, TB, petabytes, hexabytes, there are zettabytes of information. So every year, there is this amount of information which is generated, right? If you're considering Google generates zettabytes of information on a particular daily basis also, because that many number of searches Google accepts. So this is the amount of information which is being generated on yearly basis, the volume of information. But if the same tabular representation can be viewed like this, it's very easy to understand, right? It is very easy to understand. And if you see in the earlier example, there was no 20, because in 20 the businesses were shut, the revenue was dipped. There was a dip in revenue, but I don't want to show that dip in revenue. As a data analyst, you should be always showing that. But if a business says that I don't want to show, you should be smart enough to remove that 2020 and continue with 2021. But if I consider the same information, here we do have 2020. In 2020, the businesses were shut, but the amount of information which was generated, it never dipped, right? People were working from home. Anyways, the volume of data would have generated, right? So that is the reason there is this 2020 present here. Understand the data. As a data analyst, it is not that you check a visual, whether the visual is good or bad. That is also part of your expertise. But moreover, understand the data, what needs to be skipped, what needs to be shown. So if I take the same tabular representation in the area chart, this is an area chart. In Power BI, we have a similar chart called as area chart. This is the volume of data growth, how the data is generated from 2013 till 2025. We have yet to complete 25. In 25 until now, this information is until August, end of August. 181 zettabytes of information have been generated. Right? So that's how the volume of data increasing. So more the data, more would be opportunities for a data analyst. More would be difficulty for a data analyst, right? If more the data, you will have that heat, right? You will face that heat. Okay, how much data I have to handle? How much data I have to clean? So in order to understand that also, you should be aware about the volume of data. How long, how big the data is. Right? So as a data analyst, you have to go through all these processes. You have to go through all these processes. So the role of data analyst is not only restricted, you might have understood until now, it is not only restricted for drag and drop, it is not only restricted for Power BI dev only, but you should be aware about all these processes, all these differences, what to show, what not to show, how smart enough, how how big the data is, volume of data, how clean the data is. If it is not clean, how do we clean that? So all these roles are necessarily related, or these necessary steps are required for a data analyst to understand, to grasp them, and then learn about visualization, which is about Power BI. Right? So we will be discussing all this in our day-to-day sessions. Not only Power BI, but to understand the data and then visualize that data. Now, few might also have a question that why Power BI? Why not any other tool? Right? Why only Power BI? Why not any other tool? There are many tools. Why only Power BI? Right? Let's understand that as well. Why only Power BI? Why not any other tool? So if you're considering any particular information, right? How do we analyze with the help of some visual? Right? Same way we have seen. We have seen the same visual, right? With the help of visual. So let's try to understand with the help of visual. Let's try to understand why only Power BI, why not any other tool. Forget about this chart. This chart speaks more about cloud. But what this chart is about, this chart is more a kind of table representation. Right? It's in a table representation. The information is more about table. It is comparing three big cloud providers in the world. We will come to this chart also, but only understand the structure of a chart. Some AWS occupies 29% of market share, Azure occupies 22% of market share, GCP occupies 12% of market share. And how many regions are there? How many availability zones are there? How many services they are offering? So there are many other things, right? How many services they are offering? There are many other things which are coming here. But if I show this information to the end user, okay, if there are four columns and 5 rows, The information is in columns, right? This is column, this is column, this is column, this is column, this is row. Left to right, this is row, this is row, this is row. So the information is always present in the rows and columns in a table format. It is very easy to understand. But if the number of records increases, if I compare 10 cloud providers, then it is very difficult to read, right? So if you want to compare the 10 cloud providers, why not show in a visual? We can show it in a visual format. Right? Visualization will definitely help to take a business a step forward that, okay, which cloud is good, which cloud we should opt with, what all services are available in that cloud, right? So you can easily compare and you can easily take your decision. Now, same, let's try to compare it with one visual. See, this is about cloud. The table representation is about cloud. But if it is in table representation and if it is in this representation, if you compare both the conditions, do not check the data, consider conditions. 99% of the time people see this visual as compared to this. Because this is easy to understand. Now, what is this? It's just a comparison of business analysis tools or reporting tools which are available in the market. Now, even this visual is also from Power BI. The visual which is shown here, it is called as scatter chart. There is a visual in Power BI called as scatter chart or scatter plot. Now, what this particular visual says, what is the reason to use this visual? I'll give you an idea. What is the reason to check this visual, right? What is the idea behind? So, what does this visual say? Let's first try to understand with a small example, and then we'll try to see. Let's not take these information. I'll consider two important things. See, there is x-axis. I'm not sure how many of you can recall your schooling days information. This is x-axis. In school also, you might have learned graphs, right? Histogram. Graphs, some line chart or histograms you might have learned. Bar chart. You might have learned bar charts also. So in your school, if you go back and recall that bar chart or histogram, the line which is more a kind of sleeping line, it's an x-axis, and the line which is standing line, this is more about y-axis. This is y-axis. So in x-axis, let's consider this is your sales in x-axis. And in y-axis, let's consider this is your profit. Let's consider, right? This is an example. So if you're considering sales and profit, how they have bifurcated? They have bifurcated into 4 different quadrants here. This is bifurcated into 4 different quadrants. So what this quadrant says? This quadrant says that you are part of high profit, high sales, right? This more the number of sales means here you will be more number of sales. Here it will be more number of profit. So this quadrant says high sales and high profit. This quadrant says high profit, but you are under low sales segment, right? Sales is your x-axis, but you are under low sales segment. What this quadrant says you are in high sales, but you are in low profit segment. This is profit, right? Low profit segment. And this says low profit and low sales. So compare the tools which we are looking at with respect to this example, that which quadrant will come first or which quadrant the business will always focus. They will always focus where they are getting high sales and high profit. And if you see, Microsoft is in the quadrant which is a part of high sales, high profit. So Microsoft is also generating high profit. It is also generating high sales, and it is way more above than all other competitors. You can see the gap. Tableau was the biggest competitor, which was for Power BI. Since last 5 or 6 years, the position of Tableau is slightly coming down. Yes, it is still part of high sales and high profit quadrant or high profit segment only, but the gap between Microsoft and Tableau is increasing. Now, there are many other factors which will combine or which will come across this, why this gap is increasing. One of the biggest factor for business is amount they are spending on the tools, right? If you're purchasing a product, now let's consider big billion days only. Starting from 22nd of September, big billion days are starting, right? There is a reason why that sale is also starting on 22nd September. Can anyone answer? There is a reason. There is a specific reason that sale is starting. Big billion days. Even your Amazon sale is also starting on 22nd. There is a reason why it is starting on 22nd. Can anyone answer that?
Festival season.
Which?
Navratri.
Not Navratri.
GST.
Yes, Navratri can be something. Very good. It is because of that GST slab.
GST slab.
Government has
GST
reduced
slab.
that GST slab starting from 22nd of September. That reduction of GSTs will be coming effective. Now, if you are a data analyst, you have to think it from this point of view. If GSTs are decreasing on all the products, the price of that products will gradually decrease. So if an iPhone is costing some 1 lakh today, that same iPhone might cost some 95,000 without even reducing the price from the, Apple itself. Government is reducing the GST. So Apple is not decreasing the price. They are paying less tax for it. What they will say, we have reduced the price. That is how businesses work. As a data analyst, you have to think from this point of view. Yeah, Navratri is one of the reasons, but the most important reason is the reduction of GST slab. Now, if you're comparing any rates today and on 22nd, definitely the rate would have been reduced. Yes, in sale, they might reduce it more, but they will always get an advantage, right? If a product is costing some 10,000 today and they want to sell that product at 8,000, but out of this 10,000, you are paying 1,000 tax. But if this tax itself is reduced to half of it, so half of 1K is 500, right? Here, you are only decreasing 2,000, but you're not decreasing 2,000. You are also getting 500 gain from the business or 500 gain from the government, that you are paying less tax to the government. So anyways, improvement in business can be done. 8K doesn't mean you are only getting. Even here, you might have been selling this 10K product with 8K as the cost price. So understanding the data is very important. Understanding the data and how that change happens. What is the reason that dip is there? You need to understand that. Sandesh, can you go on mute? Right. So this is a scatter plot. This is also a chart present in Power BI. And how this chart is read? This chart is read in X and Y axis format with two numerical information. Sales is also numeric data, profit is also numeric data, and which quadrant will come first, which quadrant will come second, which quadrant will come third, and which quadrant will come fourth or last. You need to check depending on the requirement of a business. Right? High sales, high profit means a product is very good because it is getting high sales and it is also expecting high profit. If it is low sales and low profit, that means products is kind of okay. Sales is also low and profit is also. So these are all okay products. These are all okay business intelligence, or these are all okay reporting products. These are very important. Click, Oracle, OB, SAP. SAP is anyways coming in the visionaries, but it was part of leader segment. You have Google Looker. Looker is a product, right? Looker is the original reporting tool for Google. So there are many visionaries, so there are many leaders. But out of that, all leaders also, Microsoft is leading that leader segment. That is the reason. What is Microsoft? Microsoft is more about Power BI, right? We are comparing business intelligence. So Power BI is a product of Microsoft. So are we learning right tool? Yes, we are definitely learning a right. Now coming to the left of this is the table representation, right? Are we learning the correct cloud? See, one thing, as I've said, Azure is also product of Microsoft. It is very easy to compatible. I mean, product which are manufactured by same companies, it's very compatible, right? If you have a bike, that bike is a Hero Honda product or Hero product. You want to purchase certain equipment of a bike which is broken. Whether you visit a Honda showroom or whether you visit a TVS showroom to purchase, not right. Still, there is a possibility that if that product is not available with Hero, you can go with some other vendor also, some other dealer also, or some other manufacturer. But if you are having a Hero bike, you will always go with that Hero only, right? A product, an original product of Hero. And if you own a TVS product or a TVS bike, you always go with TVS spare part only, not the other spare part. If and only if that spare part is not available, you may go with some other manufacturer. So same happens with the any reporting tool. If you're considering Power BI, it's a product of Microsoft. So it is recommended to go with Azure. You can still learn AWS and GCP. There is nothing wrong with that. But it is very easy to connect Azure services with Power BI. That is the reason people choose Azure over AWS and GCP if they are learning Power BI simultaneously. And if you compare, right, Azure was introduced back in 2008. There were different names given for this Azure. Azure was never called Azure. It was called as Project Red Dog. It was changed to Azure after 2008. In 2010, it was changed to Azure. The name. AWS is in the market since 2005. It was introduced prior to Azure. Azure, you can say it is in the market since 2010 or 2012. It was publicly available rather. So since 2005, AWS is publicly available, but it was restricted to certain regions only. As and when the information increased, the presence of cloud also increased. So if you're comparing any three cloud providers, yes, Azure is second. But if you compare other regions also, AWS has only 36 regions. Azure has 60 regions. Now, what is this region? Every cloud has a region, right? If you're from India, in India, there might be 3 regions. There are 126 zones. In the 60 regions, there are subdivisions called as zones. AWS also offer 200 services. Azure also offer 200 services. Whereas GCP, it is comparatively less, somewhere around 125 or 130 services it offers. So we are also learning a good cloud or not. For that reason, I've kept this table representation. It's a product of Microsoft. Yes, even though it's a second biggest cloud, but it is one of the biggest competitor, which has increased its market presence. Azure was somewhere around 2 to 3% market share in 2015 or 2014. Starting in last 10 years or in last 1 decade, it has almost increased its market presence by 200% growth. That is what the Azure is capturing nowadays. Right? So AWS was somewhere around 50% of market share back in 2014 or 13. If you go back, AWS was completely dominating the cloud market. Now it has reduced to 29, 11% drop. It's a very big drop. You might feel in 10 years only 11% drop. Yes, but it's a very big drop and there is a very good increase for Azure. So we are not comparing that why not AWS. The best comparison is both of them are product of Microsoft, Azure and Power BI. So that's the reason we would be learning Power. That's the reason we would be learning Power BI. Now, this is all about data analyst. This is all you have to think from a data analyst point of view. Now, what would be covered in this course, right? We have discussed so much, right? What would be covered in this course? This course would include SQL. SQL is part and parcel of every course in KSR except if it is Java or Snowflake. Snowflake itself is also a SQL only. But along with this, I mean, except these two courses, if you're considering data engineering, data science, if you're considering data analytics, or there are some other courses also which are parallelly going on. For every course, SQL is must because you're learning data related technology. So for our batch, we have already completed SQL. So how will you get to the learn? I mean, how will you get to learn the SQL, right? I'll come to that point. But our
Voice
course,
is not clear.
is it not clear for everyone?
No, it's clear only.
Okay, probably one who are facing difficulties to hear, you can drop and rejoin. There might be some network issue at your. So if you are a data analyst, you should start with SQL. Then we would be learning Power BI. For this batch, we would be starting with Power BI now, because as we have already completed SQL, for few people who have joined with SQL, for others who need to learn this SQL, right, you will be given some options. So what options are that? I'll try to discuss it once I complete sharing other details. Once the Power BI is done, we would be going to Azure Cloud. Now, in specific to Azure Cloud, we would be learning, our focus would be more on Azure Data Factory, which is nothing but your ETL tool. Along with this ETL, there are some other services which are dependent on it, like keywords, like storage accounts, like ADLS or data links. These are all related to storage account. So there are many other services which are dependent on Azure Data Factory. We would be learning simultaneously along with Azure Data Factory. So in specific to Azure, our 70% of the sessions would be on ADF. And 30% focus would be on the other cloud services, which might be added advantage for a data analyst course. What all that? We also cover some part of logic apps. What is logic apps? What is Synapse? And what is Databricks? This is more about data engineering, but we will be covering basics of it. We are not going into data engineering. We will not write complete code in data engineering. No, that is not our part. Our aim is to understand how Databricks works. What is the benefit of it? How Synapse works? What is the benefit of it? How Logic Apps are similar to Power Automate. If anyone is from Power Platform or Power, more a kind of Power Platform environment, right? For them, Power Automate is one of the component of it, right? Subcomponent. So Logic Apps is somewhere related to Power Automate as well. So it is at most important to understand what we would be covering in Azure. Our primary focus would be on ADF because this is the most important service. Along with ADF, there are some dependent services like keywords, storage accounts. We have many other services also which are dependent on it. We have service principal also. We have some other services like database servers, database. In that servers, we have SQL pools also. So that services we would be parallelly discussing with ADF. So our focus would be more on ADF from the Azure point of view. Once the ADF is done, we would come back to the leftover topics, which are Logic Apps, Synapse, and Databricks basics. We are not going to cover in detail because this is more about data engineering. Our aim is not to learn data engineering. Our aim is not to learn about data analysis. Moreover, data analysis is the important for this course, right? So now coming to the SQL. If you're joining with Power BI, how to learn SQL? SQL is part and parcel of every batch as I've said. So there might be other batches which would be starting parallelly, which will start with SQL. So you will be given recordings of SQL for the current batch, which I have already completed. If you are not good with the recordings, you will be given option to go through new batch. Parallelly, you can attend some other batch SQL sessions. If that is also not feasible in the sense you're not able to understand, you already seen the recordings, you've already gone through some other batch, parallel batch new sessions, but you're not, because you're getting confused. So in that case, once we complete Power BI and Azure, we will be starting with SQL again. For that batch, you will be added again. So there is an option, you will be added to SQL with all three open possibilities. Recordings, some other batch new sessions, or else you have to wait until the closure of Azure. Then for the new batch, we will be starting with SQL again. So with me being the trainer, you will again learn SQL from start. So you have all three options open. Now, if you might also have a question that how many sessions will be covered for all these, right? SQL will be minimum. It's not even 20, it is 22 days. We cover 22 sessions, but we usually keep it to 20. Power BI, we say that it is 35 days, but it is somewhere around 35 to 40 sessions. I'm talking about sessions, not about days. If it's for Azure cloud, now what is cloud? In order to understand cloud, it will take 5 days. You cannot directly jump to Azure Data Factory, right? In order to understand cloud, it will take 5 days. And 15 days will be for complete ADF and its dependent services. 15 days. And few last 3 to 5 days will be for all the other services which are required, which is just to understand how these services work from the data analyst point of view. Not from data engineering point, from the data analyst point of view. So these are the number of sessions which we will be having for a particular tech stack. So over and about, it would be 4 months. You need to have a target of not even 80. 80 will be number of sessions, but you need to have a target of 100 days. Always keep a target for this particular course. You should have a target of 100 days starting today. Whatever sessions I will be covering will be one day, and weekends, Saturday and Sunday, we always assume it as one single day. Let's suppose we started on Monday, right? So Monday to Friday will be 5 days, and Saturday and Sunday, we assume it as one day. So in order to keep a target of 100 days, you should count the days like this. So if you chase a target, if you have a target, you want to learn Power BI, I want to be a very good Power BI developer, keep a target of 100 days. Within next 100 days, you need to chase that and you need to get into a very good job. That is the ideal requirement. You have to see, I will give my 100%, but from your end, you have to start practicing. You have to practically use what we are going to discuss, what we are going to cover on everyday basis. You have to go back and practically start working on it. Only then you will be able to understand. Right? So that is the commitment which we need from our students, is that keep a target of 100 days. Within next 100 days, you will be a good data analyst with Power BI stack. Right? It is a part and parcel of Power BI only. So a data analyst with Power BI stack. That is the ideal requirement for this course. Right now, if you check any job positions, any job, visit Glassdoor, visit Naukri, visit any job searching website. Indeed, you have many other job searching websites, right? Or even in Google. For every Power BI developer, they require some additional requirement of SQL, Azure. Snowflake is added advantage. It is not a compulsory condition. And Snowflake is what? Snowflake is somewhere related to SQL. It is just a database with some different functionality. Functionality sense, they have their own way of writing queries. Almost similar like SQL, but few changes. Right? So for every Power BI role which you're checking, which you want to check in current market, somewhere they might additionally ask you that a person should be good in cloud, a person should be good in SQL, a person should be good in understanding the data analytics. Analytics is most important. So if I rewind back when I started my career in 2017, I started my career in 17. There was this Power BI, which was just dominating the market. Dominating in the sense, Power BI was introduced in 2015. Within 2 years, it had a very good market presence, but it was not completely known to many people. So when in 2017, the interview questions related to Power BI were very easy, and they used to only focus on Power BI. If a person knows Power BI, let's hire it. But it has drastically changed, right? It's been 8 or 9 years from 2017 till now. Power BI has evolved as one of the biggest competitor for all the reporting tools. Biggest competitor in the sense it's the leader right now. So why is it a leader? There is one factor which I've said, which we will be discussing. The most important factor why people go with Power BI, why not any other tools, is the costing of Power BI. Power BI costs, Power BI desktop is totally free. You can develop anything for free. But if you want to share it publicly, if other user wants to see it, it would only cost you minimum $10. Whereas if you compare it with Tableau, Tableau will cost you somewhere around $80 to $90. Minimum I'm talking. So it's almost 8 to 9 times of what Tableau is costing. 8 to 9 times of amount you can save it in Power BI. That is the most important factor, which is why people are moving from other reporting tools to Power BI. Even same goes with Click. Click is also somewhere around $90 minimum you have to pay. Whereas if it is for Power BI, minimum you have to pay. Now, it is not $10, minimum it is $14. In Power BI, there are different licenses. The minimum license, which was earlier $10, it is now costing $14. Power BI has increased the charges for that minimum pro license. There is a license called as pro. Earlier, it was $10 from 2015 to 2025. In July 25, they have revised their charges for the very first time after 10 years to $14. But 14 is also not big amount, right? 10 to 14 is only $4 increase. If it is from 10 to 25 or 10 to 30, it would have been a very good or very large or very big increase. Even if Power BI would have been $30 also, it would have been one of the cheapest. But still, they have kept it to $14. Why? Because they know the importance of business. They know the importance of amount they are spending on a particular. So that is how Power BI is dominating. The most important factor is easy to use, and costing is the biggest difference. You compare any tool, no tool is near to Power BI, which will give you the same, what you call the same difference or same amount. No tool, no other tool is costing you same $10 or $14. Somewhere around $35 to $40, it starts with that minimum price. So that's the reason people are moving to Power BI. That's the reason people are, it's very easy to grasp also. It's very easy to grasp. And you check any openings. For all the openings, somewhere around you need SQL, you need cloud. So that is the reason we are parallelly covering these sessions as well. Now, if someone is following KSR since 2019 or 20, you might have seen in 2021 or even in 22, there were sessions related to Power BI. In that sessions, we only used to cover Power BI. Because at that time, Power BI was the only tool which the market was looking around. Nowadays, along with Power BI, you need all other services. That is the reason even we adapted that. We also adapted that change, and we are also parallelly covering all these services or all this technical stack. Right. So again, coming back, who can take up this course? Even though I've mentioned only few graduates or few courses or few your degree courses here, but anyone, literally anyone who has very good understanding or who can easily grasp something, right? Even if he's from non-tech background, even if he has career gap, anyone can switch to this course. The thing is, you should have that commitment to learn, right? If you go through daily sessions and if you go back and sit ideal, no, that won't give you a good job. The question is, you have to start practicing. So only commitment which I need from my students or my candidates who are part of this course is you should have that eagerness to learn and parallelly practice it. You have to start practicing it, right? So if you keep a target of 100 days, you should get into a good job within that 100 days, but you have to chase that target. You go to a session, you attend a session, and again you sit ideal. No, that won't give you a job. The question is, you have to start manually practicing it. So that with that commitment, I'll take a pause. I'm open for questions. Please try to raise your hand. We'll try to take your questions one after the other. But I assume that you might have got the answered. I mean, you might have got your questions answered, most of the questions answered. But if there are still any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hi Ritesh, I have a couple of questions.
Okay, right.
First is this, like, are we going to get exposure of Power BI service also in this course?
Yes.
And
You will
okay,
be given premium license, not pro, premium license.
thanks. First one is answered. Second one is the in this what this ADF is all about. Are we going? Is it some coding, or we going to learn PySpark in it? Could you throw some light on that also?
Sure. So see, again, few people might have a fear of coding. Few, not few. In this current IT world, I mean, people who are with SQL, they might already know this. I've already discussed with them, but for common discussion, in the current IT world, 70% of people are in a fear that I may not be good in coding, even though they know some basics. I may not be good in coding, and that is still there in this market since the inception of this IT. 70% people are fear about coding. So the first thing which you have to do is you have to come out of this fear. How to come out? See, our course is not about coding, but somewhere you need to have understanding of logics. You need to have understanding of formulas. SQL, you need to write a code, but we are not writing very big code, right? SQL is more about how do you communicate in English. Same way, what you are communicating, what I am communicating with you in English, similarly, you can communicate with the database with the help of SQL. It's very easy. So our sessions are not more about coding. Our sessions are more about formulas, statistics. So you should be good in formulas, you should be good in logics, you should be good in statistics. That is for sure. Now coming to ADF. ADF doesn't require coding. It is similar like Power BI drag and drop. Yes, if you are learning Databricks, right? Here you might need PySpark, but we are not completely going through Databricks, right? PySpark is for data engineering. Synapse also has a combination of notebook called as PySpark. It also has a notebook concept where we need PySpark. We are not going to this. We are not going to learn PySpark here. It is not our primary aim. ADF is nowhere coding. There is no requirement of coding. Only thing is you need some formulas in ADF. What we have in DAX also, what we have in SQL also, that same logics can be used in ADF. So it is also drag and drop. There is nothing difficult in ADF. So almost similar like Power BI, just drag something, connect it, and run that. It will run it. But the only thing is you need to write a logic, right? Formula. For that logic, you need some part of understanding how that logic is required, how formula can be written. So that is the only part which is additionally, you can call it as coding, but it is not coding, right? So if I want to calculate speed, right? Speed is what? Distance upon time taken.
Correct.
This is the formula. So you should be good in formulas. That's the only thing which I would require from you.
Okay. And the last question was like, let's suppose I give my 100% on this Power BI stuff that will be taught to me, and basis on that, if I just practice mock like previous years uh, certification exams for PL 300, can I also write that exam also?
Yeah. Now the question is how you, I mean, what exams can you target?
Yeah.
PL 300 for sure you can target. I'll be sharing few dumps also. Dumps in the sense previous questions. You can also target once we complete Azure also, right? You can also target for AZ 900. What is AZ 900? AZ 900 is Azure fundamentals. We would be completely covering Azure fundamentals as well. You can clear this AZ 900 certification also. And along with Power BI, there is a new product called as Fabric, right? There's this product called as Fabric. We will be learning Fabric simultaneously with Azure. What is part of Fabric is also part of Azure, right? People are asking, you know, Fabric. Do you have understanding of Fabric? Data Factory is coming from Azure only. Data engineering like Synapse, Databricks, all these are a part of Azure. Data warehousing, your storage account, it is also part of Azure. Power BI is also part of Fabric, which is a separate service which we would be learning. So what is part of Fabric is also part of Azure. So we will be parallelly learning Fabric also, and we will be parallelly learning Azure. How you can do it in Azure, how you can do it in Fabric, both we can simultaneously learn.
Is Fabric is also a separate service like the way you have shown these icons, or is it the whole we call Fabric?
See, this data factory is also separate service like ADF.
Right.
Similarly, Fabric is also part and parcel of cloud. Fabric includes all these services clubbed together. So if some person is in requirement, he should use ADF, and he should also parallelly use some data science models also. He can, why to create separate services and handle it separately in Azure? They end up creating Fabric because Fabric includes all these sub services combined together. So Fabric is just an umbrella, and Fabric itself is a part of Azure. Fabric
And
is also a service in Azure.
do all these services are available for free, or we have to bear the cost of all these
See,
services?
if you're getting premium license, you will be, with this premium license, you will be getting 60 days. So you can come in within the 60 days, you can cover all this. You may need not active premium license for Power BI for first 1 month or first 25-30 sessions. In the last sessions with Power BI service, we can activate that license and we can start using the Azure services also with that license. Because in premium only, you will get Fabric. And for Azure, how to activate it, you will get some free credits. How to get that free credits, I'll be explaining it in the Azure sessions.
Okay.
Hi, Karthik here.
Hey,
Good
Karthik.
morning. Yeah. So I'm a working professional with around 9 years of experience, and I would like to switch my career into this data analytics, gradually into data engineering. So while checking with other institutions and going through their curriculums, right? So everyone has mentioned Python as a part of this data analysis course. And coming to our curriculum, right? Like I don't find Python. My question is like for a professional like me who would like to switch their career without Python, like, is it possible to get a job into this data analytics, or should I also practice Python parallelly so that I can enhance my chances, or how it will be?
Good. See, one thing, let's take an example. What I'll do, I'll take a small example.
Ritesh, sorry to interrupt. Just a small, add on to the same question. One scenario I want to just add, because I have also 9 to 10 years of experience. And let's suppose for those folks who, let's suppose, and hypothetically they are working around at a 30 LPA package, right? Let's understand this. So, and for those, what else they have to add on into their curriculum so that they can play in between 30 to 40? Because just with this course I am thinking that one would be able to land somewhere between 10 to 20, or maybe 10 to 25, little bit. But for to get into that 30 to 40 bracket also, what additionally for folks like us who already 10-year experience has to add on?
Okay.
I
Good.
hope you got it. Yeah.
Maybe I got the context. So from the CTC point of view, right, how we can target, or if we are already into that bucket of 20, 25s, how we can target the next bucket, right?
Right. We are
Right.
understanding.
Good.
Yeah.
I got that. Maybe I'll be able to answer it afterwards, but let's start with this. See, the question which is related to Python. I'm into this chat GPT. Now I'm not sure if all the I mean I'm sure in the sense I may be aware, or maybe I'm thinking that you people are using ChatGPT or any AI tool on day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
But one thing you have to consider is if you're using AI, you should be more a kind of, you should be aware about what kind of data is shared with the AI. Right? If you're sharing business data, it might expose your business data to the AI and it might be publicly shared. So make sure if you're sharing some data, you share some dummy data, or you can replace that data and you can comparatively use that same comparison with the data which is already available. But Why Python? I mean, if there is really requirement of a Python or not. See what I've done, I've taken a snapshot of this picture and I want to show this in a line chart. I want to show this in a line chart. I am assuming that you know what is a line chart. Line chart of market share of clouds. See, you take any AI tool, all the AI tools will always use Python. Now, what is Python? See, Python is used for data analysis. Python is used to create visuals. Yes. Python is used to interact with the database. Yes. Python can be used to develop front-end applications. Yes. Python can be used to develop back-end applications. Yes. So Python is used to develop any part of this IT. Any example you try to take. Almost everywhere Python can be used. So Python is not only restricted to data analysis. It can be used as a programming language to communicate with the database, just like SQL. But Python is used by people who already know SQL, who already has a good understanding of coding. Our course is developed in such a way that you may need not require a good amount of coding. You may need not require a good amount of coding. Now, coming to the part, if you consider Python, if you know Python, it's an added advantage for your stack, along with ADF, along with Power BI, along with SQL, it would be added advantage. You check, I mean, if you're trying to check any open position, for experience up to 6 or 7 years, Python is not mandatory, neither it is mentioned in any open position. But for people who are greater than 8 years of experience, they come into lead positions, they come into lead stack. For them, Python is not compulsory, it's just an added advantage. So it is not compulsory to learn, but if you learn it, it's an added advantage. Why? Because that Python will give you that additional CTC bracket. If you're targeting, if you're already into 2025 LPA, with addition of Python, you can develop any other. You can use it. Python, you can be used for some other analysis also, right? Additional analysis. So that additional analysis will give you the bracket of that additional CTC. You can increase it up to 30 or 35. So it is not recommended, but for experience more than 8 years, yes, if it is, you know Python, it's an added advantage. It's not compulsory, but it's an added advantage. Now, if you're learning Python, there are many people who knows Python, but there are many people who doesn't know cloud. Why we included cloud? Why we skipped Python? We could have included Python also in this course. But what I've said, we want to make sure that there are 70% of people in this IT world who have a fear of that coding. So we want to make sure that we also get that people into this course. Once you are very used to this ADF, once you're very used to the Azure services or any cloud services, you will have that eagerness to learn something new. So they can also chase that Python learning. So we never included Python. In all our data analysis course, there is no requirement of Python because it's an added advantage. It is not compulsory. From a data engineering point of view, it is at most compulsory. For a data engineering or a data science, without Python, there is no data engineering. Without Python, there is no data science. But without Python, still there is a data analysis. If you know it, it's an added advantage.
Ritesh,
Even without Python, like we can,
one question is there.
get
Yes.
job roles or opportunities, right?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. And one more
Yeah,
question from my end.
Yeah, Karthik, go ahead.
Yeah. So with respect to the roles, right? Like my understanding is data engineers are the ones like who used to clean, maintain the quality, creating the pipelines, and all these ETL operations will be done by engineers. But like here, like we have seen, data analysts may also require to perform these actions. So whether they share the roles and responsibilities, or in some cases where data engineers are not in an organization or a company, like this analysts are taking care of their positions.
Okay, so how it happens is,
Ritesh, just one question. I'm just running late to my office. Just
okay, no worries, no worries.
just
Can you go ahead?
want to know, in Azure, we are going to learn how to create a pipeline and flow that all things. That's a simple question.
Yeah, we would be learning. ADF is all about pipeline only.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
It is all about pipeline. It is all about transformation. So we would be learning that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Now, coming to the Karthik's question, right? Why we are jumping to that? Even data engineer does, right? This is more about data engineering as your data factory. But data engineer uses these services more as compared to Azure Data Factory. But anyways, these services also include pipelines. Even Synapse has pipelines. Even Databricks has some jobs, notebook jobs, right? Now the question is why a data analyst requires the understanding of data factory. See, I mean, if you're considering any business, the amount of data that business generates might be, let's assume that it is 1 TB of data which is generated. Now, out of this 1 TB, 1 TB of information can be handled by data engineers. They might take this data, they might dump it somewhere, like data warehouses, data lakes, or some databases also, or some storage accounts as well, or some CSV files, multiple storages. Now, not every file is required for analysis of data. Data analysis can be done on some part of data, some part of data. So as a data analyst, it is our responsibility that which part of data is required for us to report that, to visualize that. For that also, you need some ETL, right? For that also, you need some ETL. Data engineers might be working on 1 TB of data, but data analyst might be working on some 10 GB of data sometimes, some 20 GB of data sometimes, because you might be working on small chunks of data differently. You might create 5 to 6 reports separately. You may need not create a report on 1 TB of data, right? That is not required. So for that reason, we are learning this ADF. ADF is used for transformations which can handle up to 20 GB, 30 GB, 40 GB of data. Even ADF can handle 1 TB, but you have to break it into multiple pipelines. So in order to break that into multiple pipelines, they have come up with a big data solution called as Databricks. Databricks is more about big data. More the bigger data, you can use Databricks for churning it. So 1 TB of data can be handled easily in Databricks, but as a data analyst, you may need not work on 1 TB every time. You need to work on 10 GBs, 20 GBs, 30 GBs, 50 GBs of data. For that purpose, we use that ADF for transformation from different sources, extracting and transformation, then loading it to our layer, our truth, right? We are using that data, right? So as a data analyst, we'll have a different layer of information. There you can dump and you can connect it to Power BI. You cannot connect 1 TB of data directly to Power BI, right? For that reason, we use ADF to break it into multiple small pieces and then connect it to Power BI. So that's the role of a data analyst.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, sir.
Hey, Shane.
Yeah, like in the Power BI, we'll be learning Power Query RLS, right?
Yes. Power BI has whatever Power BI has, everything, end-to-end Power BI. The most important tool in this course is Power BI only. As I've said, 40% weightage is on Power BI, 25% weightage is on SQL, so it's 65%. 20% weightage is on Azure, which is 85, and 15% weightage is on your data analysis and understanding.
Okay.
So that is how 100% this course is.
Yeah. Actually, right now I have 3 years of experience, but mostly I was in bench part, like around 1.8. And right now I've created 2 basic reports in Power BI. So for relevant 3 years of experience, how much salary can we expect? My current CTC is 5.25.
Okay. See,
After this course,
salary bands, it changes from individual to individual. But just from the market average point of view, if you are having a good amount of 3 years experience, I'll not give a CTC bracket. If you're considering any kind of data related role you're targeting and you want to enter that market with that data role, it might be data analyst, engineering, or data science. From a data analyst point of view, let's consider if your experience is some 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, experience into 3 is minimum. Minimum you can expect experience into 3 times. That means if it is 3 years, 3 into 3 is 9. 9 is minimum. And what is the maximum you can expect if you're very good with the technical stack? Good means you can easily answer their interview questions. You are very good in developing reports. You have very good interaction. You have a very good communication also. You can expect into 4 times. So if it is 3 years of experience, into 4 would be 12 LPA. Minimum. Minimum is 9, sorry, and maximum is 12. It all depends on your current package as well. How do you negotiate? Right? If you have a current package of 3 lakhs and you are directly asking 12 lakhs, no company will give you. But your experience is 3 and you are very good in Power BI. Still, they'll never give you 12. But the question is how to negotiate that. So that negotiating factor also we will discuss in non-technical. See, we will not only cover these technical sessions. We have sessions called as resume building. Resume building also we will cover. We will prepare your resumes. We will have sessions related to agile project management. In between, these sessions are on weekends. Either of the weekend I'll try to pick in Saturday or Sunday, and then we'll try to have a session on resume building. We'll try to have a session on agile project management. We'll try to have a session on domain understanding, how every domain works, what is present in every domain. So these are all non-technical sessions that we would be also parallelly covering. Mostly I will be covering this non-technical, but if there are some common sessions throughout KSR, that would be openly shared with you. So all the batches can primarily or simultaneously can attend.
last question. Like
Go ahead.
after, after this course completion, can we expect the 3 years of experience?
Minimum 4 years, you can say. If your total experience is 3, you can put all your, or you can show all your experience into 3 years.
Yeah, my total experience is 3, but my Power BI experience is like around just 3 to 4 months only.
You can showcase all 3 years, but the only thing is you need, we need your commitment of that 100 days. So if you're practically working on it, definitely you can show all your 3 experience into Power BI.
Yeah.
Any other
Yeah,
question?
hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, I have one question. See, actually, in both technologies, like a Fabric and Azure, we have a same ETL tool like a data factory.
Yes.
Like which technology ETL tool has more jobs?
Both technologies are same. I'll give you a small example. How many of you see that iPhone launching video or iPhone launching on iPhone launching day? Have you ever gone through that live sessions, or have you ever seen that live launching of iPhone? Maybe the question is for Ram. You have asked a question. Have you ever seen that live session of where the iPhone is being launched, a new iPhone launched? Have you ever seen that?
Oh, no, no.
Try to see. Maybe if any product is launched, any company for launch, if they are launching a product, even though that product is already present from that company, that product is already being manufactured previously, but they're only changing something and they're launching that product, relaunching that product. They always say that this product is standalone. They always say that this product is something different. Fabric is also done. Microsoft has also done same with the Fabric. What they have done is, why to have separate services in Azure? Why not have everything clubbed under one single service, and that service is called as Fabric? They said that Fabric is very good. They said that Fabric is okay. It's the market. It will have market dominance. It's the marketing strategy. What you learn in standalone services in Azure, that is more easier than what you learn in Fabric. Fabric UI is not that great. Fabric, there are many drawbacks in Fabric, but still they are, I mean, they have released that product, right? When Fabric was introduced in 2023 January, it was one of the dumbest product, but now it is one of the cool product. It's not the greatest product, but it has improved a lot. There are many drawbacks still present in it. Microsoft is working. The question is, it has combined all services as if it's one single service, and they're showing why to take all services separately, take only one service Fabric. We will give you that option. But Fabric is too much costly, way too much costlier than all the separate services if you use also.
Okay.
So I'll explain the difference also once we reach at that point. For sure, we will be learning Fabric and Azure parallel.
Okay,
One,
sir. Yeah.
one more question. Like from tomorrow onwards, I think we will be jumping into the Power BI. So post every class, will we get some kind of assignments, or how's it gonna be like?
Okay, so I'll be whatever data sets I'll be using, I'll be sharing the data sets. I have 4 or 5 data sets or more than that. So what we will be practicing on, see, I'll be starting with first, what is Power BI, what components are present in Power BI, how data cleaning or how visuals can be interpreted, right? We will not directly jump into Power BI. We will jump into understanding of visuals first. Every visual has its own behavior. So whatever I'll be covering, I'll be sharing multiple data sets. You can practice with that data sets. Once we reach at a point that, okay, we can say that whatever data set I'm trying to give and whatever business requirement I'm giving, you can create a report. At that point of view, I'll be covering or I'll be sharing few projects with you. We will also parallelly cover some projects and we'll also parallelly share some projects with you for your practice.
Okay. Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, silence, I'm taking it as no. You still have 4 more days. All next 4 sessions would be free. You can join that. Then you can take your decision, right? Depending on that, if you still have any other questions, you will have, as I've said, you still have 4 sessions. You can ask that questions in this next 4 sessions, and then you can take your decision, right? So hoping that there are no questions and we have almost crossed our limit. Our sessions are from 8 to 9:30. Right? So this was our first Power BI session. That's the reason we extended it to 9:50. But usually I try to close it by 9:20. Only last 10 minutes would be for normal discussions, questions or discussions. Right? So hoping that there are no questions for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a very good day. Let's connect back tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.